You're listening to 50 Pirates in 50 Days on the Sports Objective Podcast. A new era of East Carolina football is here and will begin on August 31st when Mike Houston leads the Pirates into action at NC State. Between now and then, join us for a daily trip down memory lane as we experience Pirate football through the words of the men who made those memorable moments happen. Here's your host, Bubba Rosenbaum.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast. So we continue on with our 50 Pirates in 50 Days series, and now we're very excited to catch up with a guy who played for Coach Steve Shankweiler in the early 2000s, Brian Rimpf. Brian, welcome into the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Must be running out of choices if you got all off the lineman on the show, but I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We really appreciate your time. You had an excellent career in the purple and gold in the early 2000s after making your way to Greenville from Raleigh. So let's just start right there and talk about your recruitment. I believe you played at Leesville Road High School, and so talk about your path to ECU.
Yeah, I grew up in Raleigh, went to Leesville High School. ECU was really the my first best offer that I had. I'm going on an official visit in December after my senior year. Coach Lookin was there, and I remember going to his office and, him offering a scholarship. And, the whole recruit process has changed a ton over the years. It was 20 years ago when I was getting recruited, and I'm coaching high school football now, so I get to kind of see it firsthand, and it's changed so much. But, back then there wasn't all these recruiting agencies, and a lot of stuff wasn't on the internet as far as rankings and those sorts of things. So you kind of just, relied on your high school coach and sending out highlight tapes. And my dad did a good job of trying to help me in the recruit process. He sent out flyers to colleges and things like that. But, you mentioned Coach Shankweiler. That's my guy. That's one of the ones I really credit with my career. We went to the visit for that official visit, and he talked to us a lot, me and my parents, and I remember him making me do a body weight squat in a hallway to see if I could bend. And I remember him kept kind of like rubbing my shoulders a little bit, trying to see, I guess, how thick I was. But it was kind of an interesting process. And like I said, Coach Logan offered me a scholarship. We committed and accepted, and certainly think that was one of the best decisions of my life.
Absolutely. And so I believe when you came in, you redshirted, correct?
Yes.
So you played from 2000 to 2003.
Right.
So talk about some of the guys you played alongside early on, and then I know eventually, and I know in 2001 you had the opportunity to play against the likes of Dwight Freeney at Syracuse and also Julius Peppers at North Carolina, and had a lot of success against those guys. But talk about things early on, leading up to that point.
Yeah, those were good years. It was really fun. Playing in Dallas Ficklen Stadium and being a Pirate. 99 was my redshirt year, and that year there was the hurricane, and we got displaced and ended up playing Miami and Raleigh. And we actually, a number of the freshmen, since I was from Raleigh, we went to my parents' house and stayed there and went to the Miami game and got on the field and stormed it like everybody else after the game was over. That was a really fun year, finishing 9-3, going to a bowl game. And after that, ended up getting to play that next year and going and winning the bowl in Houston down there. And then obviously we had some really good players on our team, at ECU over those years. I remember, Jeff Carr, it was kind of like he was the guy. My redshirt year, he was a fifth-year senior. He was the leader of our defense. He was the guy we all kind of looked up to. And it was really neat years after playing, getting to kind of reconnect with him over in the Charlotte area. But 2000, like I said, another good year. Dave Garrard, quarterback, who most everybody remembers, really had a good season and ended up winning the bowl game. And then my class in that 2001 year, we were sophomores. We really kind of stepped into the starting roles and in a lot of positions on the team. Up front on the offensive line, which is where I played, there was 4 of us starting as sophomores that year. And had a pretty good season. Obviously wanted to be better, but we made it to a bowl game, and we got to play some really good opponents. You kind of mentioned a couple of them. We got to go to UNC, go to Chapel Hill, and at the time they had Julius Peppers defensive end, and they had Sims at defensive tackle, and both those guys were top 6 picks, if I remember correctly, in the NFL draft. So they had some talent. we ended up going to the Carrier Dome up in Syracuse, which is probably still one of the hardest places I've ever played in. And they had, a really fast defensive end named Dwight Freeney that ended up being a first-round pick also. And I was playing left tackle, so I drew the short straw and had to try to block both those guys that year. Ended up being, a good year for me personally, and going up against those matchups. I always felt like Coach Shank had me prepared to face those guys, and I didn't know what my future was going to be at that point as a sophomore, but I just knew I was going to play good players and needed to play well. Ended up doing that pretty good, but those are always really good experiences to go back and remember that played against those guys, and those guys really just got done playing in the NFL a few years ago, so people still know who they are, and it's kind of fun for my kids to learn that I blocked those guys and that they're a little surprised. But and in 2002, 2003, when we were playing there, we up front on offensive line really felt like we were pretty good. All those sophomores came back, started as juniors, and then I know another guy y'all interviewed, Charlie Dempsey, is a head coach over in Jacksonville, North Carolina now for high school football. But he was my left guard. We started, 2 straight years together, every game next to each other, and we really did feel like we were pretty good up front those last couple of years of college. But overall, ECU was a great experience. Some of those years, the records weren't what we wanted them to be, but it was a fun ride regardless.
One of the things that you guys had to take an awful lot of pride in, this is something we actually discussed with Charlie when we talked to him here a week or so ago, but he was just talking about, the likes of Jamie Wilson, then also Leonard Henry, Art Brown, Marvin Towns. You had a nice string there of 1,000-yard rushers with Henry, Brown, and Towns.
Yeah, for offensive linemen, you don't get any stats. There's no stats in the paper about it. The only time you get your name mentioned is when you do something wrong. So one thing we took pride in was keeping our quarterback clean and having a 1,000-yard rusher. You just mentioned 4 pretty good running backs. Each of those guys kind of had different strengths to them, but we were able to, like I said, we felt like we were pretty good up front with offensive line, the 99 class, and then add Charlie to that for those last couple of years. Able to produce, I think 4,000-yard rushers there in a row. Obviously, those guys were pretty good also. That's why they were able to, to run for so many yards. But that definitely was kind of a something to hang our hat on for offensive line, and that's something Coach Shankweiler really embedded in us, and something that we, wanted to do each and every week. We were going to knock everybody down and then pick our guy back up and then keep going, and we were able to do that for some of those years.
Yeah, and Leonard Henry, that 2001 season, your sophomore campaign, that's what 7.8 yards per carry is just something ridiculous, almost video game-like numbers.
Yeah, it was. It was actually, we didn't at the time know how good he was and how good we were doing, and then we started looking like he's only getting 12, 13, 14 carries a game, and he's over 100 yards every game. We were doing pretty well. It's probably pretty good. We didn't know how good we were doing, so we couldn't, really think of ourselves that highly. But obviously the quarterback we had at the time, and Dave Garrard, helped that situation out a bunch because he got a bunch of guys out of the box, and Leonard was able to find creases, and once he got in the field, he's a big, strong guy. He was able to break a lot of tackles. But yeah, that was certainly a good year. I remember that year we started out fast. I mean, I'm trying to duplicate that on the teams I coach. We would come out of the gate and we would score. I mean, 20, 30 points in the first half. We were really good at starting the game quickly and, having a good running back, and obviously a good quarterback runs everything, but having those guys certainly helps.
Something else I want to ask you, you referenced that GalleryFurniture.com bowl down at the old Astrodome, that game against Texas Tech. Just like you said, as far as the 2001 season, we jumped on those guys. We're up something like 34-7 at halftime. And I remember Coach Bill Curry was on that game as a color analyst, and he was just talking about how Coach Logan and staff, how y'all had recognized in film study, obviously, we ran the option some, but we ran it even more that game, and it seems like we maybe ran some, maybe it was midline or inside veer, because I just remember Rashawn Burns having a tremendous game. He would be in that dual role of tight end or fullback.
Yeah, our coaches really, we had some really good coaches. They did a good job of game planning, and Texas Tech played in a completely different league than we played in. You know, those guys out there in the Big 12 that they were in just did different things and didn't see what we did. And, of course, we didn't see what they did on offense ever either, but our guys on defense did a tremendous job. Our coaches, put us in the right positions. We were able to execute a lot of the times. That was a fun game. It was fun to get that, win down there, the Astrodome. Only time I've ever played there, so it was a good experience. But what was actually pretty neat for most of us is that's really kind of the farthest from home a lot of us have been. So we're down at the bowl in Houston, and we're a good ways from Greenville or North Carolina, and we get to go out to the Galveston area and go into the big city of Houston and kind of see all that stuff. And that was a really neat experience for us.
One of the things that Charlie really emphasized about Coach Shank, I know you said in the open that Coach Shank, he's your guy, and that's what Charlie really emphasized, Coach Shank's uncanny ability to make adjustments on the run. So can you talk about that? Because obviously Coach Shank is back in Greenville now under Coach Mike Houston, and that's something that I know is going to pay dividends for the Pirates big time.
Yeah, we're excited that he's back. I've been able to keep in touch with him, over the years. He's moved around a little bit. I've moved around a little bit too, and it's been really, really neat to kind of keep that, mentor relationship with him. I really felt like he just prepared us so well. His individual drills that we did in practice, in the game. He knew what to expect. I mean, he had so much experience. You really trusted that what he was asking you to do, was going to happen. I remember one situation, and it didn't happen very much. That's probably why I remember it. But we were playing Memphis, and it was at home. I think it's probably 2002. And I gave up a sack. I just got beat. He got me, gave up a sack. I came to the sideline. And I was looking for Coach Shank to give me some pointers. Hey, you kicked out too fast. Your weight got over your outside foot, something like that. I said, Coach, what happened? I gave him a sack. He goes, yeah, you gave him a sack. You got beat. Don't do it again. So that really didn't apply to to any of the individual drills, but it was like suck it up and go. Don't let it happen again. But one thing that I don't even know if I told him this, but when I got to the NFL, I really expected. So when I was in high school and you go to college, you expect the coaching to get better. You just expect those guys to be better. You're doing more with them. And that was certainly the case with Coach Shankweiler. And when I went from college into NFL, I really expected, it to be a lot better in the NFL, the coaching a lot better. Well, I get up there and it really wasn't. It was a lot more, on your own type of stuff. If you can't do the job, we'll find somebody else to do it. It wasn't a whole lot of, individual coaching. I remember calling Coach Shank and asking, hey, look, I'm struggling with this area. You got any drills or what should I be doing with this? And he was actually giving me pointers, while I was in the NFL and stuff I could be doing to help myself just because it was familiar to me. He was so familiar to me and did such a good job. I feel like, during my time at ECU that he was going to help that. So, that's neat to go back and, revisit relationships like that. And you mentioned it. We're excited for Pirate football this year, excited for ECU, excited for Coach Shank to be back. And those are all things that a little group of us that have stayed in contact over the years, the alumni are pretty fired up about this year in Greenville.
You referenced that time with the Ravens. So you were drafted by the Ravens in the 7th round in the 2004 draft. So during those years, I think you spent 3 seasons with them, and you played in at least 16 ball games, I think it was, and you started several as well. So talk a little bit about your time with the Ravens, and then just who were some of the best guys you had to block.
Well, playing in the NFL was always a dream, and it's neat when your dreams can't come true. And when we got that phone call 2004 and I got drafted, I remember the first thing my dad said was, congratulations, now you have a job. That's what it was. Get up there, it's a job. It's instead of going to class in the morning and practice in the afternoon like in college, you're at practice all day, your meetings or whatever else. But, it really was a dream come true. It was something that it's hard to explain to a lot of people. But, for those years it was fun. And, the Ravens were a class act organization. I mean, from the top down, they did things the right way. Unfortunately for me, I was there between Super Bowls. They won it in 2001 and they won it in 2012, and I played right in the middle of them. So I didn't get a ring, but they're still really good to the to their alumni. I really was blessed because we got to play. I mean, there was a lot of guys there that are either getting into the Hall of Fame now or will be in the Hall of Fame that I got to play with. I remember my rookie year, they had just signed Deion Sanders, and that was one of my guys when I was growing up that was like one of the guys I idolized. It was Deion Sanders playing for Florida State, and he played. You know, he was in Baltimore my rookie year and second year, and obviously Ray Lewis just got in the Hall of Fame a couple years ago. Ed Reed got in the Hall of Fame this year. Jonathan Ogden got in the Hall of Fame 4 or 5 years ago. All those guys, you know, that was the heart of the years they were there was that time I was there. So it was a really good experience getting to play with all those guys, and you know, certainly something that will be hard to duplicate. It's really hard to you know, to talk about too. But I do have one NFL story. I listened to y'all when y'all talked to Dave Garrard, and we never played together in the NFL. He was in Jacksonville the whole time, and then went elsewhere. But we did play against Jacksonville one year. It was 2005. We went down to Jacksonville. I ended up playing the second half of that game, and they ended up beating us. They were pretty good that year. But I remember being on the field with Garrard, and it was kind of interesting, kind of rooting against them, but like rooting for them at the same time. Like, hey, you know, my college teammate, I want him to do well, but I don't want to lose the game. You know, have to fly back to Baltimore with the loss. We did lose, and he did beat us, and it was really neat to see him after the game and say hey and see him doing well. But that was kind of you know, we did the same thing when we played against Monte Leach. He was with the Texans one year, and the Packers another year. We were able to you know, be on opposite sides of the field. Never had to block anybody that I played with in college, which was good. They were all on offense, but those were fun times, and certainly good to reminisce about.
After your time with the Ravens came to an end, I know you also played a little bit in the Arena League and then also UFL. But after that, you got into coaching. So talk a little bit about your time in coaching. I know you were the head coach at Jack Britt in the Fayetteville area, and then you also are currently the head coach and athletic director down at Camden High School in South Carolina.
Yeah, getting into coaching was such an easy transition. You know, we knew some, you know, players and former players. It's neat to see all the guys getting into coaching that are in coaching now. It's such an easy transition. That's what we've done our whole life. It's been a part of football. We've played for a lot of different coaches. We've kind of, over the years, thought about things we'd like to do if we were a coach or some things we wouldn't like to do if we were a coach. So really it was a natural transition for me. You mentioned in Fayetteville, I was the head coach at Jack Britt High School from 2012 to 2016. Great experience. One of the best things about Jack Britt was they were purple and gold, just like the Buccaneers, just like the Pirates. So I've been in purple and gold for a lot of my life. It was a great school. We had a really good 5 years there. And then this job in South Carolina opened up at Camden High School, a little north of Columbia. Actually, one of the guys that I called about this job and asked him about it was Coach Shank. And he said, Brian, if you take that job, then you don't leave that job. That's one of those that you stay and you retire at. Because I had talked to him about a couple other ones over the years. He said, that'll be fine. You go there for 4 or 5 years and then go somewhere else. Well, he didn't say that about this one. And I guess the fact that he said that and he's recruited this area and he knows all about the Carolinas and Georgia, and that's kind of where he's been most of his career, really carried a lot of weight with me. And, you know, I was fortunate enough they offered me the job here. This is my 3rd year coming up. We actually playing tonight. This is Friday. We got our first game, our week 0 game tonight against a in-county opponent. We're hoping to do pretty well do pretty well at the game. But, yeah, we feel like we're in a really good spot. They're the Bulldogs. We are gold and black, so most of my colors are the same. I just don't have any purple right now. But coaching is really rewarding. You know, it's really fulfilling and something that we really feel like we've been called to do.
Brian, we certainly appreciate your time. I know Pirate Nation is going to really enjoy hearing from you. Certainly wishes you the best of luck this season and in the future down at Camden. We look forward to hopefully catching up with you sometime in Greenville sometime if you make it up this season. And, again, just continued success, and we look forward to catching up down the road.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try to get to Greenville this year. Excited about Pirate football in 2019, and I hope everybody else is. Appreciate y'all having me. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Pirate Nation, that is former offensive tackle Brian Rimpf.
That concludes this edition of 50 Pirates in 50 Days on the Sports Objective. Remember, join us daily between now and game day as we'll talk Pirate football with players from various eras. All these interviews are available exclusively on SoundCloud and our YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe and follow so you're alerted when we post new content. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, go Pirates!